Well, like I said, guys, this is when you think of this show, okay? The
Two old
image
white
the
dudes.
image that I had in mind is when someone is taking, they hear a noise outside and they come upon a raccoon eating your garbage.
Okay, he hates us now. Good.
And yeah, no, that's because anyway. And you turn the flashlight on them, and then they look at you like, ah, and then there's like, yeah, there's a flashlight on them. That's what the image that I had in mind with the show, and I think we are solidly delivering that image. Another possible one is a dump truck,
This is the
like
first time it's
that
kind of
lost its
happened, so
brakes. Yeah, like this was. I'm nowhere near the keyboard. You guys can check the tapes. I didn't touch anything. My computer just decided, you know what? I feel like rebooting right now.
I was
And it
just
just
sitting there
did
going,
that.
"Hello, hello, are you there? Have I
Oh
done? Is
man.
my internet gone?
I
No, no, it's still here."
I hope that it didn't hurt anyone's ears or nothing like that happened. I'm really
I
sorry.
don't think so. I didn't see anything bad.
It made a weird noise on my end, and it was like, what the crap? You might have heard me kind of go, what the? Anyway, I will scroll down, reopen, close
Yeah.
PDF. Oh,
So
restore.
while you're scrolling down, yeah. So
I didn't do
yeah,
that.
Lurinor Urlafi, the Warden of Ymetra, does not get the ability on his scroll enduring as a rock, which means he doesn't get the immunity to Rend 1 or Rend 2, which I don't know if that's a mess up on the scroll or it was intentional, but it's kind of a shame, really.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
thanks, Alex. I'm glad to hear it didn't destroy
Okay,
anyone's ears.
so we're down to Wardens. Okay,
Yes.
Venari Wardens. Oh yeah, so same with the Sentinels. So both of these units, the Shining Company rule changed. So it used to be you had to state you were using the Shining Company, but if they ran or charged, you lost that ability.
Okay.
Now it's just as long as you have two or more models in the unit base to base, you get the rule. So it's just kind of like a simplified version of it, because before it was just kind of like if I want to move and charge you, I have to move and break base to base contact and then charge into you so I can actually do it. The Wardens are kind of a decent little unit. They're like 150 points, four farm save, one wound each, two attacks each, freeze, fours, rend one, one damage. The bonus is this: if you charge them, they get plus one rend and plus one to wound the turn you charged. Um, Also, with that minus one, you can make them kind of like a little durable unit. They have this spell that gives them the 6 up plus one to their mortal wounds. So they do mortal wounds to the five instead of a six. The difficulty with them is it's kind of not in addition.
Well, the other
Um,
thing too is, see, so they're supposed to be good against the charge, right?
yes.
And so it says subtract one from hit rolls for attacks that target this unit if the base of each model in this unit is touching the bases of two or more other models in the same unit.
Yep.
So when you charge in, you just don't touch the base, and then Bob's your uncle. You don't need to touch the bases, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
But so it's just, no, you're reading that wrong. Target subtract one from the hit rolls of attacks that target this unit
if
if
this
the base
unit
of
is
each model in this
touching the
unit is
bases.
touching. So as long as two or more models in your unit
Yeah.
are touching in the Lumineth unit, the enemy's at minus one to hit you.
1 second.
Doesn't matter if they're touching your bases or not. It's your bases.
I can't touch my own bases.
No, you don't need to. It's the Lumineth player. So as long as the Lumineth player has two or more models
Oh,
in
okay,
his
okay.
unit
Wait, sorry.
with
So
their bases touching, you get the minus one.
the base of each model in this unit is touching the bases of two or more other models. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So this is basically like the old formation kind of deal.
Yeah. So as long as you have three models in the unit, kind of, oh sorry, two or more,
Keith,
touching
welcome
each other,
back. I'm
then
sorry.
so you
My
just gotta make sure they're
computer,
holding hands.
my computer was pulling some Lumineth Realm Lord's magic on me, and it just decided it did a techless. It was just like you're trying to work a spell, but no,
Yeah.
I auto unbind and I
So
cast restart.
so
Um,
apart from that, they didn't really change. Dawn Riders, they didn't really change at all either.
mhm.
They apart from the Shining Company rule. The big issue with Dawn Riders is they look like a unit that you want to charge in and do lots of damage. They're not a unit that charge in and do lots of
As
damage.
Dale learns, in
Yeah,
like
yeah.
super hard in the
They
bat rep.
they can charge small units, but I've seen like 5 of these guys charge to 10 skin and just not do much. Like they're a good unit as a screener because they're 2 wounds each, 4 up save. You can buff that or make them ethereal. You can put them in a line and kind of block you off. With the speed of Heish, they can have movement 28. So they could be a very good like sneak up and around the back of the army. Just don't expect them like they look like they should be like this knight unit that charges. They look like they should be like blood knights, where you're gonna expect them to charge and do good amount of
Yeah,
damage.
Blood Knights are awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they just don't. So don't expect them to do that. The next one is one of my kind of new favorite units in the list.
Ballista.
The Venari Sharstar Ballista.
Uh-huh.
Now, the old Sharstar Ballista didn't really seem to get used much. It wasn't that great.
Yeah.
The new version is pretty cool. So it's like 130 points. It's range 30, but again, if you have 2 of them within 12 inches of each other, that now becomes range 36.
That's insane. And they can move and still fire, and it doesn't cost them anything. That's crazy.
You only lose the 6-up ward if you move them, but it's like it's a 6-up ward, whatever.
Oh, got it. Yeah, okay, whatever. Like...
The bonuses this have now is one is if you're shooting monsters, you're doing 3 damage instead of D3. Now these guys are getting 3 shots each, 2s, 3s, Ren 2, and then the damage. So if you have 2 of them, that's 6 shots on 2s, 3s, Ren 2, and then 3 damage each. So you can do quite a significant amount of damage to a monster.
Flat 3 damage is good.
The other cool little rule as well is the blinding bolts rule. So once per game,
yes,
if you hit a unit, they're -1 to hit for the rest of the turn. So if you have 2 of them and you both use that rule and you split your shots, you can essentially, as long as because you're hitting on 2s, you can make 6 units -1 to hit. Plus, if you're the Venari units with the blinding light rule, you're -1 as well. And there's also, if you're around one of the spirits of the mountain, you can get -1. So you can get a -3. Again, you only ever get a -1, but it just means if you're against something that's giving you like +1 attack, or like it suddenly becomes like pointless to use all that attack because you can still be staggered to a -3.
That's amazing. Yeah, I really like it.
And it's a good little thing. Like it's a good little ability, and because it hits on 2s,
it hits on 2s.
It's so reliable. Like even shooting at a hero within 3 inches of an enemy, you just use all that attack on it, and you're now back to 2s again. It's just it's a great little support piece. I really like these. Like I've put 2 in most of my lists. I even thought about putting 2 in my Stormcast as well.
How many points are they?
130.
Yeah.
So you can put 2 in a Stormcast list,
and
they don't get any disadvantages being an ally because you're still getting that ability. If they're within 12 inches, you're getting the +6 inches shooting, and they're hitting on 2s. You don't even need to like babysit buff them. The only thing you might want to do is have a unit protecting them or something, but I think they're super good for the points.
They're really good. Yeah. Can you believe that the Beast Skewer Killbow was the same points as these things?
Yeah. And that's the thing, like against monsters, like you think about how many monsters are in a thing and you're suddenly doing 3 damage at Ren 2.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
3 shots hitting on 2s is so good.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is like if you want to pick off like a 5-wound hero character that's like just buffing everything around it, and you know what I mean? Like you can just all out attack, and then you're still hitting on 2s.
Yeah.
You know. But anyway, yeah, they're super cool. Okay, Venari Blade Lords.
You usually take these so you didn't see these much before. You mainly take these if you're doing the bodyguard rule. They get the bodyguard rule where on a 2+, they take the damage. So because your Sonari casters are so squishy, you want to have like, if you've got 1 hero, you probably want to have 5 of these. If you've got maybe 2 or 3 of those Sonari heroes, you want to like 5 or 10 of these kicking around just to take the damage on. Their damage output is okay.
Yeah.
Like they have an ability where they can do 2 different strikes. One is they can do a mortal wound, but again, 5 models doing a mortal wound is or you can do the one where you can, the more models that they have in the unit, you get pluses to attack, which can work okay if you have, say, bounty hunters. But because they're only Ren 1, it's, so not even Ren 1, they're Ren nothing. for that ability. It's just like it's okay. You're mainly taking them for the Guardian, and they also get that -1 to hit as well. The bonuses they did get in the new book is they have the Sun Metal rule as well, so they're doing the mortal wounds and the sixes too.
Wow, I do like that's pretty cool though. The perfect strike is just
Yeah,
like if you have 5 models, you're probably doing 5 mortal
yeah,
wounds.
yeah. It's just a
So
2-up.
so if you're like dealing with something that's hard to kill, like Eltharion or whatever, you've got 10 of those guys. He probably goes down unless he has
Yeah,
a ward save. That's interesting. They also have the subtract 1 from their hit rolls
yeah,
if
and the
they're
two wounds apiece as well.
and their
So
two
it's
wounds
just like
apiece. Yeah.
they're a good little ablative armor unit,
Uh,
and I think it's 130 points of 5. So it's the same as the bolt thrower top. I prefer having the bolt thrower, but because I usually run a Scenari hero who's kind of like my main caster,
yeah.
I like having 5 of these just to be there to help protect her.
Totally. And they look cool. Keith, what do you mean? What's the perfect strike change? Oh, I see. I see. That's
Yeah,
the thing that we just highlighted.
the
What was
two
it?
the
What
two
was it
model ones.
before? I don't even know.
I cannot remember.
Fair. Yeah. They
I
were.
think you still had to hit, and then it was a mortal wound, and now it's just a mortal wound and a 2+.
Oh.
I
Yeah.
can't remember.
So it's like it used to be part of the attack sequence, and now it's just
Yeah,
like it's a special rule. Yeah, that's stronger because if you're minus to hit or whatever, auto hit, roll to wound minus. Oh wow! So no
okay.
mortal wounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is way better. Yeah, this is way better.
It's
Um,
also a thing though as well because if you've got that some metal
and
blades on
did
with
they?
the 6 as a mortal wound,
Yeah.
maybe having multiple attacks on like a unit to get those 6s is kind of good. She kind of got like you're either fishing for lots of 6s against a unit
Yeah.
or trying to do those instant 2+ mortal wounds to a hero.
Well, yeah. If you're sorry, if you're going up against a clan rat unit, you pick the flurry of blows. But
Yeah,
if you're going up against a Bastiladon, you're like, okay, time to do some
yeah.
more wounds.
It's just a shame they didn't have Rend 1 on the Flurry of Blows. That would be nice.
I agree. I actually think they should have that, but
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, I guess it's just
So
pick and choose, right?
so the Cathala got a big hit. So
Okay,
her big hit. So she's now a cheap. I think she's 110 points. She's a scenario caster. She gets that deep thinker ability. So once a game, she can cast a spell on a 9. Can still be dispelled.
okay,
She has an ability which is a spell, which is kind of very similar to the stone one we had, where you have to brawl a bravery test, or else you can't shoot, move, retreat. So you can stack these onto a unit.
cool.
Um, the big difference is so she used to have an ability where if you had a unit that took a lot of damage, you could transfer that damage for battle shock to another unit.
Okay,
So say someone charged your warden unit, they killed 8 wardens. You could then take that -8 to your bravery and put it onto another enemy unit that has to take a bravery test as well. So that unit of say rat ogres that lost 1 rat ogre now has 1 rat ogre plus a -8 to his bravery.
Negative
So that's just
8.
well, it's whatever. So it was whatever you lost by. So if you had
Oh,
30 sentinels and you lost 22 sentinels, you could transfer that 22 to someone else's
goodness.
battle shock. It's been completely removed.
Okay. Do you
Do
still
you
have her?
still have her Palisade and Stone Palisade? Is no, they're both still it. So she has the Darkness of Soul, which is like 7 to cast, 2d6 against your bravery, uh, and then it's they can't whenever they
Oh,
try to run charge blah blah blah, and there's still the stone one as well, so they're both still in there. you know it can do stuff, but there's not the I think there used to be one that could reduce your bravery by d3, but that's gone.
um,
Yeah. So she's still pretty useful. She still absorbs despair, so once per phase when someone uses an aether quartz near her, she can transfer that to an enemy unit instead of you taking the -1 bravery.
that's amazing.
So it's still she still has a purpose, but again, she's a 5 wound,
Well,
5 up armor
and
safe
it's
hero.
once per phase. So
Yeah.
you can only use 1 ether quartz per phase. So you could just be like, yep, you,
Mhm.
you. That's
You can't. I think you
incredible.
can only. Yeah, each enemy unit can only be affected once per battle, so you
Still,
couldn't like stick multiple minuses on one unit.
but that's
But
like
yeah,
the
it's
whole
still good.
downside
Yeah,
to Aether Quartz. So yeah, that's
yeah. Yeah.
Pretty
But
good.
again, Keith's right. That other role did need removing because I've seen it before where like the enemy charged in and kill like over 30 block of sentinels, kill 20 of them or something, and then suddenly you're dumping that they've lost one guy in return, and suddenly you're dumping that 20 battle shock onto that one loss, so that whole enemy unit just pops
Yeah,
unless
that's
you're inspiring
obnoxious
presence.
for
Yeah.
sure. And
So
I know a lot of people don't like the I don't know if any of the spells that stop you from participating in the
yeah,
game.
and it's also it
Um,
wasn't even once a game; it was like once per turn on the battle shock.
Jeez,
Yeah.
that's wild. Okay,
So the Enlightener is the new hero that was added, who
okay.
I will touch
Actually,
on.
first of
Who
all, before we go on,
Mhm.
so cath Cathalar. I always want to say catheter. I always want to call
Yeah,
him catheter.
Cathalar.
Cathalar model, but
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't.
Enlightener.
Yeah,
That's
I need to get my hands on an Enlightener because I'm using a proxy right now because I do like the model.
that model is sick.
Yeah. So she was added in the recent kind of box set with the I think it was versus Zinch,
Okay.
and she's a solid caster. So she's 170 points, but she gets two casts and two dispels.
Yeah.
Again, she's kind of got that weaker profile of the 5 wounds with a 5 up armor save, but again, stick her near those blade lords, and she's gonna get that 2 up bodyguard.
Yeah.
She gets the once per battle Deep Thinker, so that's that 9 to cast on the first spell of the turn
Oh
from
wow.
her. So it's once per game. All the scenario casters have it. The thing that's kind of cool with her is she has an okay combat profile. She could do a little bit of damage in combat, and she has a little shooting attack.
Yeah.
The cool thing with her is the fact that she has the 2 cast, 2 unbinds, is the rune of Ephrai or Ephrai. So once per turn, whenever she casts a spell from the Lord of Hish, and it's not unbound, on a free up, you can cast it on another of your units. So it means, as I was doing in the report, is I pick one of my units to put Ethereal Blessing on, and if it's cast on a free up, I get to put it on another unit under the same rules. Pretty useful. I'm actually going to try it out with the Speed of Heish
Yeah.
with Stone Guard, where I can give 2 Stone Guards, double their movement, so they're now movement 8 instead of movement 4.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
And the free up's pretty good. And like again, for 170 points, if you're taking Blade Lords, she's got more survivability. She has had another little spell which is kind of interesting if you want to kind of YOLO suicide bomb in, which is you pick an enemy unit, and every time you take a wound or a mortal wound, the enemy takes a wound or a mortal wound. So
Wow.
if you do that with that, because it's unfortunately not a lore of Heish ability, you can't use it with your put it on 2 enemies. But like if you know she's gonna probably die in the next turn, you can cast it onto an enemy hero or support hero or anything. So when they run in to kill her, they're also gonna take the damage as well. So it's a situational thing, but it's like a free raw spell one.
It's
The
pretty
reason you
cool. Like
yeah.
there's gonna be times you stick her on like you're against a combat army. You stick her on an objective that they need to get to. You cast it on
Mhm.
yourself. You could stop someone from getting their grand strategy because they go in to kill her and then they kill themselves or something like that.
Yeah, and
Uh,
as he said as well, because overwhelming heat is
yes.
a
So
lore
sorry,
of Heish.
I was gonna ask you to explain that. Spellmaster was the no 2 more spells, was it? I can't remember what Spellmaster was. I
Spellmaster
can go up,
is.
but then
Let's
it'll
go
be
back up. I'll go back up.
okay.
Spellmaster is once per battle you get to use the magical +1 for the Aether Quartz
Oh, okay.
without using it.
Without using it. So
Yeah.
I see. So then and what's overwhelming heat?
So that's one of the let me just bring it up for you. The spells from
Okay.
the it used to be Zytrek only spell, but now it replaced Lambert Light. Uh,
Okay.
so it's the
+1 or a reroll to cast.
so
Ooh.
Overwhelming Hate is successfully cast. Pick one enemy unit wholly within range, which is 24. You half their move characteristic until the next hero phase. Then you
Jeez.
roll a dice. If the roll is equal or greater than the unit's save characteristic, they take D3 mortal wounds.
Yeah, that's
So
pretty good.
again, the reason that could be good is because you can cast on 2 enemy units and you're halving their movement.
Wow. Yeah, that's super good. Like
Yeah.
eels turn into a slow unit.
Yeah.
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 Or
So you know, and you know,
Skyfires or Enter whatever here.
yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah,
So
that's a cool
she's like a
combo.
solid, like she is squishy.
But fantastic
Having the
utility
blade lord, yeah,
piece.
yeah.
Yeah.
She's kind of like what they kind of needed, where it's kind of like a two cast, two unbind instead of the one on one. And being 130 points isn't a big investment.
Yep. It's
I
very
like
fair.
having her as my kind of like support main caster who tries to get the bigger spells off, especially if you have like the twin stones up as well. It gives you a chance of getting those off.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
that seems really cool to me.
yeah. Uh,
Okay.
the Sonari Caligrave is the next one. He's pretty much stayed the same. He just got the Deep Thinker a bit. He kind of has a cool spell, um, where uh, yeah, so it's an 8 to cast. So you pick an enemy unit and they take D3 mortal wounds. If they've already been marked by this spell before, they take 2d6 mortal wounds.
Whoa.
So essentially, you could take you hit them turn one with this, and they have it, and you take D3 mortal wounds, and then you hit them again the next turn because I think it says, um, oh yeah, so you take D3 or you mark them with Erasure. So turn one, you hit them with it, you mark them with Erasure, and then turn two, you use your 9 to cast, so it goes off, and you hit them for 2d6 mortal wounds. Again, it's like, I don't know, it's a
So,
setup. It's a setup thing, and because it is an 8 to cast, you still have to get it off the first time. So
yes.
it's. I think a lot of the
Well, that
time you'll
endless spell
see.
though.
True. A lot of the time you will usually see these more. It paints them out of existence. Yeah, because
Yeah.
he's like putting a piece of paper. I always thought he was like a War Machine buff piece, but he's not. He's just a wizard with a big hat and a piece of paper. Um, Sometimes you'll see these because they're kind of like the cheaper end of the casters being taken with like the protection of high spell, just so they can, like, as I said before, like turn two, this guy will use it with deep thinkers to get it off on a 9. Turn three, the other guy will use it to get it off on a 9, kind of thing. Because getting that 5 up ward save is pretty important.
This reminds me of, do you know Hokuto no Ken? It's like an old anime manga, originally a manga, and like he hits you with a bunch of stuff, and then he's like, "You're already dead," and then they like explode.
Yeah.
It's kind of what that's like, right?
The Lawmaster kind of, I think, pretty much stayed the same. I think he's back to being unique again now. So you can only have. Well, I don't know if he is actually. Let me scroll to the bottom. We have that. No, we
Oh,
don't have that. I don't know if he's unique or not anymore. But he's okay. His kind of gimmick is you kind of deep strike him, and take him up because you set him up after your army set up,
okay.
and you set him up on the battlefield, more than 3 inches away from an enemy. And if he's got the objective, he has it until he's kind of dead, and he gets +1 armor save. It's kind of like it's your endless spell did. Yeah,
That's so
because he is
good.
a caster, so you can cast an endless spell
That's
for him
as for the
if you
people
want
who
to,
are
like.
listening, by the way, in the future and are not watching the chat because this is what I do. Keith said the Lore Seeker is your endless spell same day delivery service.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, that's so good.
Yeah, turn one, you deploy him. You use his deep thinker ability to get that 9 up cast, and you just, like, I don't know, drop the purple sun or Rapinex, and then just, that's him either running away or
That's cool.
whatever for the rest of the game. Um, he's an interesting piece. Again, I'm not sure how much. It's kind of like a gimmicky thing. You've got to be 9 inches away from your friendly units to get that +1 armor save. Um, and he has, he can do some combat stuff and that, but he can be quite easily taken out if he's just off on his own.
You know what's crazy
Um,
though is it says 3 inches from all enemy units.
yes,
That's wild.
yeah.
That's really
So I mean,
crazy.
if you want it, you can always do like a YOLO,
But there's
drop
other
him.
things too. It's like I've you know 9 inch screened you outside of my backfield, so you'll never get that battle
You can't
tactic
be in
of
the
like,
enemy territory as well. It does say that.
oh dang it.
But you could get him really close and then, like, use Ravenex turn one and try and roll high and
Fair.
pop someone or something. You can have some kind of comedy uses
He's
for it,
he's
but
pretty cool.
yeah, he's a pretty cool model as well. I kind of like him.
Yeah. I know you're a big fan
Uh,
of Alarith.
yeah. So next one you have the big mountain guys. So The stone one, I think he went to 14 wounds. I think he was 12 before, but I'm not 100%
I
sure.
think that's what I said.
He's pretty solid. Like he's again, if you're in your metro, he has the minus. Hey, Sean.
Hey, Sean.
He's got the enduring as the rock, so he's immune to Ren 1. In your metro, he's immune to Ren 2. He has an ability to make an enemy unit -1 to hit if they're within the shockwave range. He gets +1 attack if you charge him. It's kind of like he's a good solid combat piece. The big changes is with Avlanor, which we'll come down to. Oh yeah, and he has that shooting ability as well. So again, if you have it with that tectonic, whatever it is, the command ability, having those 2 shots with, freeze 2s, Ren 2 D6 damage can be quite good at 25 inch range.
It just seems really good. 4 attacks.
And they're cool models. Yeah, they're
3s
big,
and 2s,
badass models.
5 damage. Like that's just what you like. That's all the Vermin Lord Warpnaw gets. So yeah, that's pretty
cool. Yeah, you got the totem keyword. Yeah, so they're
right.
The 18-inch range. Yeah. And yeah, if they're within the Stone Mage as well, they don't bracket.
Added to generic moo.
Yeah, generic moo. Stone Mage, I think pretty much stayed the same. I think it might have gone to a 4-up armor save instead of a 5.
Okay.
But he's like a solid, like if you're going Aralef, you need to take him. His 2 big things are, one is if he's within range of the Spirit of the Mountain, they don't bracket. The second one is if they Stone Guard, it means they can't pile in, but they get +1 rend. So if you are, because they get rend 1 normally, and they have the mortal wound attack. But if you're against something that's like heavily armored and you want the extra rend,
they're a 2-inch range, so
yeah, so you don't necessarily need to pile in most of the time. But you have the option as well. So it's at the start of the combat page, you get to choose.
Yep, and if they're battle line too, then you can always do the half of an inch if that is more that's better for you, I guess. Okay, cool, love it.
Stone Guard.
Kind of talked about them, but they're good.
I think they say the same. The best. Oh no, the 4-up ward save. That was their new one. So now, if you're contesting an objective that you control, they have a 4-up ward save
against mortal wounds.
Against mortal wounds.
Yeah, that's so good though.
So, but that's really good considering mortal wounds is one of those big things. So the 2 wounds each, 4-up armor save.
You're like gnashing jaws, haha! I've got you. Only your first move, and then it's like, haha! But we have a 4-up.
So they can be like super. You put them in your Metra, you're now immune to Rend 2.
Yeah.
Even if they're not, if they're Rend higher than that, you can still like Mystic Shield, use your Aether Quartz, that sort of thing.
So they didn't have a 4-up ward save before.
No.
Ooh. Yeah, they're tasty now.
So especially they're
4-up, ignoring ones and Rend of 1 and 2.
Their weapon profiles used to be slightly different as well, but now they're just combined into the same thing.
And the ignoring Rend of 1 and 2, that's against everything, right? That's not just okay.
Yeah.
That's not just melee. Okay.
Nope.
That's so good.
So it's they're like a super. They're slow, but they're a super solid unit. They have the 2 attacks each, freeze, Rend 1, potentially Rend 2. For a damage, you put them in Bounty Hunters, they got more damage. They do mortal wounds on a 6+ in addition to the damage.
Yeah.
Obviously, with that ability we read earlier, that can be a 5-up in addition to the damage.
Yeah.
Also, if we scroll down to Avlanor,
okay.
He has an ability.
I have a quick question before we move on.
Sure.
I'm not super familiar with the models. Does he literally have a cow hat?
Pretty much, yeah.
So like his hat goes up and then there's a cow on top.
Yeah.
What?
I used Shadow Warrior.
That's why I don't know it. You use Shadow Warrior helmets, like the kind of high elfy looking pointy helmets.
I changed my Blade Lords and my Kazmoo.
I don't mind a lot of them. Like I like the Stone Mage. He's got like a very epic sort of samurai looking kind of hat, but like an actual cow. Like that's an interesting choice, G-dubs.
It's like it should have been a back piece, like the samurai kind of thing with the cow on top.
Yeah, exactly.
That would, and then the normal helmet.
Yeah.
No, they put a cow helmet on.
Wow. Okay. I mean, and if you're into that, hey, like it's really more of a yak, like and we're being a little bit flippant, but
So this is the one where if you're gonna take a mega cow or the mega moo, and you go in your Metra, you take this guy.
Now,
so
is this a named character?
He's a beast. Yeah, he's a named character.
Okay.
So he has 16 wounds now. I think he had 14 before. His attack profile used to be Rend 1 for his hammers. That's now Rend 2.
It should have always been Rend 2.
Yeah.
But real quick, thanks, Alex. Thanks for mentioning the positivity. As a general rule, though, I think we should all agree that GW is killing it in Age of Sigmar. Like all the books have been
Yeah.
awesome. Like even the ones that aren't quite as powerful, like are still like overall like they're well within the, where we want them to be. So yeah, no, I
Yeah.
think they're killing it. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, Avalon did lose the
So six
the
attacks, threes,
Ymetra
and
keyword, but
three.
he still has the enduring as a mount rock
Oh,
rule.
so he's
So if it
always
is, he's immune to Rend 1, and if he's in Ymetra, he's immune to Rend 2 because he has
okay.
the enduring of the rock rule, and
I see.
the Ymetra says it changes the enduring of the rock rule, not
Got you.
the thing.
So he's not as
Uh,
good as like an ally, but
yes.
he's okay.
He does sixes of mortals
Sixth
in addition to his
attack.
normal damage. Again, he's got that 5 damage on his top profile.
Yeah, that's
Two
incredible.
of the big buffs for this boy though is one is he subtracts 1 to hit from all enemies within 12 inches, not just one, and that's shooting and combat.
Wait.
Um,
Subtract one from attack for attacks made by enemy units
yep,
within range of this unit's Guardian of Hish ability.
which is 12 inches.
The range of this unit's Guardian of Hish ability is shown on the damage table. Yeah, we didn't need that. Okay,
Yeah.
wow.
So and because if you've
That,
got him within the stone mage,
yeah.
he stays at that 12 inches.
Okay.
Um, and the Stone Age range as well is it's 12 inches. I think it used to be 3. So you used to have
Okay.
to keep him right close. Now you can have your Stone Mage like 12 inches away, just like hanging out somewhere safe and not directly like next to this guy. Um, the second one as well is the Unshakable Faith of the Mountain. So what this now does is it's a command ability that you
Okay.
give +1 attack to a elf unit. So you can't give it to yourself or another mountain, but you
Yeah.
can give it to your Stone Guard.
Oh,
But the thing is, it's kind of like Mighty Destroyer, so you can give it to 3 different units.
right.
So if you have 3 units of Stone Guard, you can use this to now have them having 3 attacks each instead of 2.
And this is who you brought in the battle report?
Yes. So
Right.
the reason
Okay.
I brought him in the battle report is because, again, I think we might have been missing a page earlier with the Stone Guard items, is you can have an item for a Stone Mage character that gives you +1 to wound if you're within 12 inches. So the combo you can do is have +1 to wound for RLF units within 12 inches, which includes this guy and your Stone Guard. He can then give your Stone Guard units +1 attack, and then your Stone Mage can give your Stone Guard units +1 attack and mortal wounds on 5s. So they're now 3 attacks each. They're hitting on 3s, but all you can't all attack if you're using this +1 attack rule. But because you're getting so many attacks, you're hitting on 3s that reach 2.
Yeah.
You're wounding on 2s. You're because of the +1 to wound.
Yeah.
They're at Rend 2 for
Yeah.
1 damage, and then 5s are your mortal wounds in addition. So they can churn out quite a lot of damage. So I just
Yeah.
had a unit of 10, and
Yeah.
they could put out some good damage.
Yeah. Yeah. You only had 10?
Yeah, so now I have 3 units of 5 because I want to try that instead of 1 unit of
I
10.
think you should. I think you need more.
Yeah, but I only own 15, so
Fair.
I need to, yeah,
Do they come in boxes of 5?
yeah,
Oh, that's crazy. Okay. The generic one has effectively the same command ability, just it's D3
yeah.
units instead of flat 3. Yeah.
Also,
Although,
his -1 is only, I think, 1 enemy unit instead of, yeah, pick 1 enemy unit instead of all enemy units. So that all enemy units, as I said, mix that
oh man.
with your Venari -1 to hit rule or your bolt throwers doing -1 to hit. You can have like quite a
Jeez.
lot of -1 hits stacking around into a big combat situation.
Dobby versus Guardian of Hish.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Wow.
he's just a tank, Again, he's a 3 up armor save
Three
guy.
up, 16
Immune to Ren
wounds.
2 if in your retro, or immune to Ren 1. But again, you can give him the Ethereal ability. You can give him the thing that gives him a 5 up ward save with the spell.
Yeah.
He packs a lot of punch. Like he's got that shooting attack, he has the combat attack. I mean, Ren 2 with 5 damage is pretty tough. You can heal him as well with heroic healing.
And he's bravery 10, so
Yeah,
pretty
I mean
easy.
he's a costly unit now. He's like 420 points, I think, or 440.
Oh,
But like he's a
take my
super.
money.
He,
Yeah.
he's like your big. You have your bolt throwers to like whittle stuff down, but he's your big punch unit.
Well,
He's the
he's a
guy that's gonna
hammer
be like,
and he's an anvil.
yeah,
And he's a buff piece.
yeah.
So,
The only thing is he can be purple sand.
well, he
So
can.
make sure you screen him.
Well, but yeah, you roll a 1 and he takes
Yeah,
6 plus d6, but you can't kill him in one shot.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
man,
And he's a monster too.
he's a
So
monster, some monstrous actions. Yeah, I think he's dope.
yeah,
And like Alex is kind of saying in the chat, I think it's great when they give you a reason
yeah.
to take both the name character, like they make it a choice and it's not just like one is obvious.
And I don't think it's like a huge difference in points as well.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
Avlinar is 420,
yeah,
and then the other one is 380. So 40 points more for having 3 units getting +1 instead of one,
yeah,
but having that everyone within 12 inches getting the -1.
yeah.
I kind
And
of think
three
it's worth
units.
it for 40
Yeah,
points. Yeah,
I think it's take my money time,
yeah. More
because
wounds as well.
yeah, yeah. I think it's great. I mean, you could take two, and then you could use your command traits
Oh
and
yeah.
whatever on them. Cool. I love it. Okay.
Then you have the
The named.
Illyria and Eliphalet.
Yeah.
I think they pretty much stay the same. I don't think anything exciting happened with them.
Cool models.
Yeah, you don't really see them getting taken much. They're kind
It's
of
too
a
bad. Yeah, they're
yeah,
chunky.
yeah.
They
The Hurricane Wind Mage, you take him if you're wanting that uh teleport spell. It's pretty good
Goku.
to have. Yeah. And again, it's quite fast paced. He's got like a 16-inch move.
So
He gets
this
plus one
guy's
saves.
he's the kangaroo
Yeah,
clan.
so he's the Hurricane Witch of the Wind group
He's
wizard.
cool. I love him.
Yeah,
I like the horns too, or whatever
yeah.
those are. Um, I'm just going off the pictures on here, so don't blame me, guys. Monkey magic, yeah, it's so cool. Um, Wind chargers, 14-inch
They're
move.
pretty solid. Like I think they have an ability where
So 14-inch move, 12-inch range. So that's a
where is it?
26-inch threat
Yeah.
range.
So
They
ward rolls cannot be made against wounds from this unit.
wait, what?
So this unit's shooting attack, which is a 12-inch range, 2 shots, freeze, run 1/1 damage. You can't take ward saves against it.
What? That's so
Yeah.
cool. They didn't have that before, right?
No.
Oh man.
That was kind of the key cool thing. Because now again, you can push them up quite close, especially if you're in the Helon,
Yeah,
where they're getting +1 attack if they're within 6 inches of an enemy.
yeah.
So you could kind of like YOLO them quite up, getting 3 shots per model, freeze to hit, freeze to wound, rend one, ignoring ward saves. So
Wow.
if it's something
And
you're wanting to kind of try and quickly take out, and you can get them in position. Remember, you can also put the speed of heist on these guys as well. So that's a 28-inch move.
And then can you make these guys battle line if they are if you're in the right clan?
I think so. Let me
That
just
would
double
be
check. I've got a feeling that it can be battle line if you're in the
that'd be so cool.
pitch battle
While you're in
profile.
there, let me know what they are for points.
Oh yeah, the Wind Riders. Yeah, so they're battle line in a Helon army, same
Okay.
as Stone Guard, a
Oh,
battle line in a Ymetra army. They're 150 points for 5.
oh, that's so good.
So yeah, you could do some
So
cheeky
10
cheeky
wounds,
stuff.
5 up save is kind of rough, but
Yeah,
still
but it's
a
kind of like
lot of
again, like
cool
you
stuff.
you pick you pick a unit of 5, you put speed of Heish on them, you
Yeah.
kind of run them as close to that 28-inch movement up so that they've got that ability to get the extra shooting in. You try and pop off against that support hero or something. You're losing 150 points if they charge you and kill you. You're essentially potentially assassinating someone.
I love them. I think that's super cool.
The only thing is, obviously, it's a rend one with 1 damage. So against someone like it's more of like a support hero killer rather than like a big kind of armored hero.
That's really cool. Um,
All units compiling 6 inches away from yeah.
yes, I did see that. Sorry, Keith. I should have said that. We have to kind of move forward. Unfortunately, I've
Mhm.
got a few things
Yeah,
I want to
we're
do.
not doing a full. We're just doing like an
Yeah.
overview. Um,
This is
so
my
the
favorite.
foxes,
This is my favorite model in the army. I love this
so the
model.
foxes look badass.
Yeah.
They are great fun. They have super high movement, 24 inches, speed of high. You can put that to 48 inches. Insane. They
Yeah.
were hated before because they had an ability to
Yes.
move in your opponent's shooting
And
phase.
like honestly, when I saw this model in the kangaroo guys, I was like, oh no, do I have to buy this army? But then
Hmm.
the rules were kind of cancer, and I was just like, oh, I don't want to play that. So
Yeah,
that's cool. But
yeah.
now,
Yes.
Oh,
So now they can still move in your, so at the end of the shooting phase, you can move 12 inches away.
yeah.
So you can get up quite close, shoot at something, and move away. You just can't do it in the enemy turn. So you could still be caught and killed. The problem before was you could do it in the enemy shooting phase as well. So even if they don't have shooting, you can just move 12 inches away, and then they're not going to be able to charge you.
Wow.
And it was like, if you have no shooting in your army, this guy was just cancer. Because he would just fly around the board, shooting you. There's nothing you could do because you can't get close to him. He's a 5-up ward, only a 5-up armor save, but again, if you had no shooting, there's just nothing you could do. He just bounces around the board with his really high movement because he can fly too, so you
Wow.
can't even box him in. Also, because he has the ability to smash and destroy terrain, even though he's not a monster.
Yeah.
Again, he could fly up that 48 inches if you did a double movement spell
Oh
on him,
man.
and just turn one, destroy your herdstone if you're not protecting it, or
Mhm.
destroy your loon
Wow.
shrine or something. And then even if you try and charge him in your turn, in the shooting phase, he runs away 12 inches, and then most of the time you're
Absolutely.
now going to be out of
Now,
charge range.
does this kit come with like a non-named character version?
Yeah, so it's the one just below,
Sick.
which is
Oh,
just like he loses
oh
some of
my
the
god.
rules. I don't think he gets the
It's still
destroy terrain one.
so cool, and it's 24-inch move. Like,
Yeah.
what on earth?
Still gets a 5-up ward. Um, Pretty much same attacks profile. Uh,
I'll just take one of each,
Ren
please.
2 versus Ren 3. So
I'll just take one of each, please. Like
yeah, they
utility.
were a cool little thing you could do.
Yeah.
The next ones down are just the both units lost being healed
Oh,
when they
when
are
they
owned.
wounded.
Oh, cool.
That's good
Okay.
to know.
Um, is the
Mari?
Underworld's Warband?
Oh, okay. We don't. Do we care about that?
No, I mean
Okay.
there. Yeah.
So now just the endless
Um,
spells, right?
so the end of spells I think pretty much stayed the same. Like
Okay.
because they kind of got redone. So the Twin Stones used to be it, it didn't dispel when you used it, but now every time you cast a spell within range, it gets +1. When you go to cast a spell, you can say you're going to use the Twin Spains. You get to add that to your casting value, but then it vanishes.
Hmm.
So before it used to stay, but then they changed this before the new book anyway, so it's kind of stayed the same since then. Uh, the Sanctum's pretty cool. You cast it, it gives you it casts on a hero. It gives you +1 armor save and -1 to hit. The kind of, and if enemies are nearby, they take wounds potentially. The reason you kind of did that was to extend the range of because the base of the barrier counted as one model with the hero, so we'd use that in combination of protection of Heesh to suddenly get like a 12-inch range instead of a 9-inch range for the protection of Heesh because you're measuring it from the spell, not the hero.
Cool.
Um, you kind of see it. I don't think you see it much anymore.
They look cool.
The Rune of Protectation is actually pretty cool because it doesn't affect Lumineth units. So it's one of these endless spells where it kind of affects anyone nearby it. So you throw it out. It's got an 18-inch range, 8 to cast again, but again, since a lot of your Sonari heroes have that cast a spell on a 9, it's pretty cool. Um, so at the beginning and end of the movement phase, each unit within 6 inches on a 4-up takes D3 mortal wounds. So if you can set this up turn 1 in the center of a castle,
Wow.
on your movement phase, the beginning and the end, on a 4-up, they're all taking D3 mortal wounds.
Okay.
You could even cast this close to you as well, so you have a big combat situation going on, because it says it doesn't affect Lumineth spells, unlike a lot of endless spells where it affects
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah.
It's kind of a good little thing, and I've got a feeling it's only 40 points.
That's incredible. Like
40 points, yeah. So the Twin
wow.
Stones is 50, this is 40, Sanctum 62. This was one that a lot of Caradron overlords wanted to use, but because it says Lumineth Realm Lords summon only, they couldn't. But yeah, I mean, I kind of overlooked this before because it wasn't as good. Now, like being 40 points, being an 18-inch range for an endless spell, and the fact it can move 8 inches and it affects, like, imagine if you get a double turn 2, 1 into 2.
Oof. Yeah.
So your opponent doesn't even get to move,
Yeah.
and then now having to take four up rolls or take D3 mortal wounds every model within the unit within 6.
Jeez.
that could be pretty juicy for a 40 point
40
spell.
points. Yeah, like you could
Yeah.
just show her up, you know. Yeah.
Also, in the world of where Cronspine is still a thing being seen around, it's a casting value of 8. So
Oh, nice.
it's
Yeah.
not an easy decision for him to go and
Yeah.
try and eat
Oh,
that,
I don't even think it's a good decision for him,
No,
frankly.
no, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, so the Shrine Luminar is the last piece. So this is kind of like your free faction train buff piece. Once per turn, you can reroll a casting. You have to have someone inside to get the good buff of it. So if you have someone inside, they're the Shrine Guardian. So they're getting the +1 armor, -1 to hit for being garrisoned.
yeah.
If they're in it, you get to use once per battle round a command ability for free from that caster, from
That's
the person inside it.
that's amazing.
Once per battle round, yeah. But you have to be inside it to use it.
Yeah.
You also get to once per turn, you can reroll a cast, dispelling, and unbind if you're within 12 inches of the train, or if your Shrine Guardian is in
Jeez.
it, is 24 inches.
Wow.
So it's kind of good. This I was asking this the other day. So you can put your how I was playing it. I put my Enlightener
Well, they'll see in the battle
inside
report.
the shrine, yeah,
We don't want to
and
spoil
then
it
you
too much, but
no no, and then you can have the
but
Blade Lord still bodyguarding them.
yeah, yeah, that's your
Um,
basic strategy. And I mean,
yes, yeah,
you could have had the blade guard inside there with her, right? Or is it only one person can go in?
only one person.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, okay,
yeah,
got it.
yeah.
So
I think it's got to be a hero. The only negative, yeah, it's only a hero that
beautiful
can do
model,
it, so you
one of
can't
the
even have a
coolest
unit
looking
in it.
terrain pieces ever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so the as yeah, Keith said, the setup rules are pretty near. As after territories are determined, you
we're
set
going
this
back up.
faction shrine
Oh,
up.
to the sanctum. Yeah, I see.
It's just a shrine, yeah, because that's the last one.
Oh,
Um,
I see.
it's got to be wholly within your territory,
Which is
but
normal.
also 3 inches away from other terrain or objectives. So depending on the scenario, it can be quite limited on what you're doing. But usually with Lumineth, you're probably playing a little bit for defensive anyway.
Yeah,
Even if you are pushing forward, you're still in a position where a lot of your stuff is only moving 4 or 6 inches
yeah.
with the kind of heavier hitting stuff.
Well, and I'm pretty sure
Um,
in the general rules it says that if you can't set up your terrain feature, you can just remove a
yeah,
piece of terrain.
yeah,
So it's not like you won't be able to set it up.
yeah.
So yeah, it
Yeah,
is
but that's
big
if you
though. It is
can't. So
big.
it doesn't
Yeah, yeah.
it doesn't
It
matter
is
if you
big.
have a bad position. It's just if
Yeah,
you can't set it up.
yeah.
So yeah,
That's for sure.
yeah. So
Um,
yeah, so that's overview.
oh, what?
Okay.
Okay.
The sorry, the YouTube thing was just doing the loading symbol. I was like,
I didn't do
no,
anything.
is it done it again? The thing I like about the new Lumineth book is the fact of it's actually an army I kind of am happy to play now. I don't know, it's not necessarily going to become my tournament army, but I would actually take these to an event to show off my army. The original book, I just didn't like the play style. It just kind of like pushed you taking Teclis and Sentinels and castling, and you're just basically going to shoot and magic off your opponent. They're not going to have any fun, and then you either win because you manage to shoot it all off and keep objectives, or you lose because they manage to get into Teclis and kill him, or they manage to hold the objectives long enough without you killing them.
Yeah.
Now the those RLF units, the Ymetra, actually give you a good kind of option. You kind of have like a good support caster now with the Enlightener, who's someone a bit more powerful than just the other ones where they were like single cast wizards.
Yeah.
Um, and the bolt throwers even like the bolt throwers are a great support piece now. So for myself, it's like why do I want to take Sentinels, which are like quite expensive if I remember correctly? It's 150 for 10
Wow.
Sentinels, um, when I can take a bolt thrower for 130, which is much better versus monsters, which is something I probably have more of a problem with than infantry.
Yeah. And it's arguably better against like picking off small heroes per
So
point.
yeah, because
Yeah.
it's D3 damage at Ren 2,
And hitting on twos.
twos and threes. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It's especially now that Lambent Light is gone, there's no
yeah.
rerolls. Yeah. It's just
I also love like a lot of the kind of like more complex and annoying rules are gone.
yeah.
Like the thing that took away the battle shock and gave it to an enemy is gone. The Lambent Light with the rerolling to hits gone. Just a lot of like the
Shooting from out
movement
of line
stuff
of
with the
sight.
yeah.
Most
It's
of
just
NPE stuff is gone, and like I know, some of those things were probably fun, but it's kind of a good quality of life change, I think, as a general rule. This book, it seems like to me anyway.
Yeah.
Uh,
I also think, as
yeah,
Keith says, it's a new book. It's much easier and more reasonable for play against. You actually have some options now as well, and you'll actually see different lists being played.
yeah,
You'll see a lot of those units that weren't being played being used now. I actually think it's a bit more forgiving for newer players as well. Like the
mm,
older one was very, like you had to play your rules right, you had to play techless right, and if you didn't, you're just gonna die. Where this feels like a lot more of like an old style high elf army, where you're actually gonna have a mixed arms army
yeah,
with like a mixture of like the reason I like the list I'm kind of trying right now is that it's like I have a combat presence, I have a good magic presence, I have a good shooting presence. I'm not amazing in any of them,
yeah,
but I actually get to act in every single phase of the game, which is great. That's what I want to do. That's why I try and design my armies around. I'm not being shoehorned into a specific build. Yeah,
yeah. It's
you
super cool. Like you're quite like your favorite thing are the yak attack, uh, the cow clan or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
And
So I
like
like a
for
mixture
me,
of them with other
I
stuff.
would be like kangaroos all day. Like I'm running around
Yeah.
shooting things and
But you
and
could even take a mix. You could take a complete mix of that. You could have your kangaroos running up and shooting while your slower stuff moves up.
yep,
They might not get the -2, but still being immune to rend one's pretty good.
it's pretty good and they're still pretty hitty. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, you could. Yeah, exactly. Like I was thinking, like 2 units of kangaroo riders, and then like 1 unit of wardens, the guys with the spears, right? I'm not good with names.
I think
Um,
so. Like when this book, as I said, I made this army out of a hobby project. A lot of the units I took were like, the Dawn Riders, the Stone Guard, the Mega Moo, as he's called. Um, I took those because I liked them. They
yeah,
weren't at the time. You didn't see them. You didn't really ever see them being played. Now you'll actually see them being played. And I like the fact of like you have multiple options so that you're not just having to take texts. You'll actually see a variety of lists, and hopefully it'll bring like Lumineth players out a bit more. Like a lot of events, I don't. I maybe see one Lumineth.
I think that seems like a really yeah because like if you make a variety of things playable, then like you'll get people out there like me like that are like me that you're like well I didn't like that one list so there's no point in what I mean
Yeah,
playing
so I
anything
didn't want
else.
to take Tekla, so realistically, I've not got a chance of doing well with that army. So
How many
I've just
points is
like
he now?
a 700 and
700
let's double
and
check.
something. So
Teclis is 700 points on the nose.
okay.
So that's a big chunk of your army. But
So
also, like if you're probably wanting to take Spell Portal with him, which is like another 70 points now or something. Or
spell portal, right? Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a big
Uh,
chunk of points when you can have other options now. Like you don't have to rely on him.
yeah. I
So it's an exciting time. I'm like, as I said, it's actually like I think before this book I'd played 3 games with my list with my Lumineth
yeah.
because they weren't an army I enjoyed playing. I just had no interest in it. It's like, oh, it does a thing. I don't want to do that thing. It's my hobby army.
Here's a
Now it's
question
like,
for you and Keith
mhm.
and anyone else who in the chat has an opinion on it. Is Techlist the way to go now, though? Is he the strongest thing, or is
I
it,
don't think he is.
you don't
Like
think he's
without
the you don't
having
think he's the strongest thing anymore?
like
Obviously, it's still early days. I'm not like disclaimer, boilerplate, blah blah blah. I just
there's a lot of stuff that had high. So like Teclis' big thing is usually you take the 4 spells with Lawmaster and
yeah
you cast them on 10.
yeah
But think about how many things in the game now have +3 to the spell
yeah
that are taken quite often. Um, Also because you can't necessarily rely on the damage output from the Sentinels like you necessarily could before.
yeah
Um, we're also in a phase of where there's like a lot more hero hammer, but even like think about Kronspine. It's like, oh, Teclis and that can do like you're gonna do a lot of damage to Kronspine, but then he's gonna be in combat with you. It's
Can
like
you
he
can you
doesn't care.
pair Kronspine with on Techless?
No, because
Right,
he's
because he's a named character.
yeah, named
Yeah,
characters
okay,
can't
that's
because
what
it's
I thought.
it's an enhancement.
So then,
Um,
Um,
It more like against him, Kronspine's quite a good thing
oh,
because Teclis's big thing is he can do like mortal wound damage and stuff. He's still really good. I just don't
yeah.
think
I'm
he's
I'm there
the
with you,
thing you
Keith.
have to take.
I'm right there with you. But it's like I was just even wondering like what do you take with him? Like you're not left. You're left. You've got 1,300 points left to spend on
Yeah,
your army.
yeah.
What do you take?
Which, if you're taking the 30 Sentinels, is another 450 points.
Yeah. So now
Yeah. And
you've
then
got
Spell
like
Portal,
600 and
that's
something
another, yeah.
points. Yeah, 600 points
It used
maybe.
to be, I think it used to be like, it used to be Teclis, a Cafola, 30 Sentinels, and like 2 or 3 units of Wardens to kind of protect the bunker
To
kind of thing.
castle it,
And
yeah.
that was like pretty much it. And yeah, it's not exactly a fun thing to play against or look at or even play. Like I said, like
I
I
can't
think most
imagine.
of the time I saw
Yeah.
like maybe 1 or 2 Lumineth or if any at events. But now like for the same points as Teclis, you could have Avlanor, Elfarian, and
Yeah.
that's it, or like some other things, or like you have some options. And like Alfer now that Avlanar has Ren 2, he hits like a truck. Like he's pretty beefy now. And your other Mega Calgrid and your infantry units can actually do some good damage now as well. And yeah, I like the fact of I think the mixed lists are gonna probably be better than leaning into one heavy thing. Because like you can lean heavy into the Ymetra side of thing and just take Stone Guard and cows, but then like your Stone Guard's a movement 4.
Yeah.
And if you kill the Stone Mages, suddenly the big things take they're not as effective because they'll start taking the damage.
For sure.
So having more of a balance where you have like some shooting, some magic, some combat, you can kind of do something of everything. I think it's kind of like a good way to go.
Hmm. I like it. I think
Oh
yeah.
yeah, and yeah, ally options, yeah, because you can now have I think most of Order apart from like Fire Slayers as allies. So you can have Daughters of Cain, Stormcast, Cities of Sigmar, um, Deepkin.
Yep. You've always
Um,
been able to have Deepkin, but I think you can have Sylvaneth now, which makes sense. Like all the elves should be allyable.
Yeah, it's kind of like because Daughters of Cain didn't get Sylvaneth as allies,
Yeah.
but the Lumineth Realm, sorry, Daughters of Cain didn't get Lumineth Realm Lords as allies, but Lumineth Realm Lords allies get Daughters of Cain as allies.
Yeah.
Um, which is kind of like because I wanted to stick 2 of those bolt throwers in my Daughters of Cain list because I would have been like,
You're a
nah,
bad
like
man.
yeah,
So can
having
you do
2 of those,
that?
not no, not right
Okay.
now.
Okay. Thank you,
I would love
GW.
to. I would love to because like having like
Yeah.
260 points for 2 bolt throwers in my Daughters of Cain list would have been lovely.
You could
But
have
yeah,
fit 3 of them in there.
you could have, yeah, but I think two's a good amount.
Yeah.
You're not overplaying because you have to babysit them if you have 3. But yeah, there you go. So Daughters of Cain, Deepkin, Sylvaneth, Stormcast, and again, if you have the protection of his spell off, those units get the 5 what save.
Yeah. Yeah. And ether wings are definitely. Um, I know someone who's looking for ether wings for his Lumineth army. So.
There's
Um,
actually so Garmek, if you're okay with 3D printed stuff, um, Garmek on my mini wargaming, he did a range of Stormcast stuff where he did
oh yeah.
owls as Aether wings,
Oh
and
cool.
for a Lumineth army, having owls with Aether wings would probably be a cool. Like I think it's very fitting with that sort of theme
Owls
army.
are just cool. Like I just like
Yeah,
owls. So
yeah, you
yeah.
can you can say you're all Harry Potter wizards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone's cut now.
Well, I'm assuming you know who I'm talking about, so let them know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
But yeah, but I think that's us for the night. That was fine.
awesome. Thank
Apart from my
you.
technical
Yep.
difficulties.
Sorry guys, my computer just was a jerk, and
Yeah.
from now on, like tonight I was running behind. So, but from now on, I'm gonna if it's like hey, like there's an update, I'm just gonna update it because like
Yeah.
ugh. Anyway, my apologies again. I'm living up to the reputation of a trash panda being caught eating your garbage, and that's what I aim for. Nailed it. So yes, thanks to everyone for watching. If you're coming after and you're like what do you mean? There's a part that came before this which where the majority of the episode happened. So
And
yeah.
thank you to everyone, especially like Keith, for contributing in the chat too. Like
Yes,
it's
we appreciate it,
yeah,
Keith, Alex, Braden earlier, James, yeah, everyone who showed up. We appreciate it, and just for tuning in and hanging out.
yeah,
It's nice to just to see that people are hanging out, and even if they're, if you're painting and you don't have a keyboard handy, that hey, that's great.
yeah.
I do the same thing. So
Yeah, as I
lurk,
said, it's more of a discussion piece and like in there's so many
yeah,
channels now that get the books a month early and they do like full reviews and tactics and that. It's like no,
and
we're just
we can't do
two
that.
nerds chatting about it.
Yeah, we don't get any
No,
special
no,
treatment.
no.
So, but yes, Saga of Dice, lurkers welcome. So thanks to everyone, and
Peace
yeah,
out.
and Keith really held it down, and yeah, Alex too. Thanks. We'll see you guys next time.